Mr. Mayor, at 7 o'clock.
You hear me? Yes. I'd like to call the January 21st, 2020 meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order. I'd like to recognize Councilman Kelly Bush to give the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Will the council please rise?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God the Father, please guide us to make good decisions in this meeting and each and every day of our lives. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Bush. I'd like to remind citizens that this meeting is being videotaped and recorded. It's going to be broadcast on YouTube. So when you do approach the podium, please speak slowly, clearly, and give us your name and your address for where you live. First, we have the reading of the minutes from January 7th, 2020. All council members, you've gotten a copy of that electronically. Are there any changes to the minutes that you have or may have? Just the one that
She already did.
you already did it? Okay, so you got a copy of that updated one? Okay.
Yes.
You, Mr. Signature?
Same.
All right. No other changes? All approved? Did you have a change? Okay. Can I? Right.
Second.
So, been motioned and properly second. All approval, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have administrative briefing. Is there any changes to Mr. Brown's administrative briefing? Any additions, Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir. I have a couple things. It's a reminder for council that statement of economic interest forms are due to Ethics Commission by the end of March. So I will give you this reminder a couple more times. You have to do it yourself electronically. Also, Mr. Dillard will not be able to make it tonight. He has a family emergency for CSX. But he did want me to relay to you that the project to repair the Royal Tower Woodrow Street Railroad crossing is on the books and will be completed by the end of May.
End of what, May?
May, yes, sir. They subcontracted. He can't give us a firmer date than that.
Right.
What area was that repair for?
This is the Royal Tower crossing.
Okay. Thank you. That's good news.
That's it? Mr. Bush, are you okay with that? Or you want? Yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
I also,
Mr. Sickinger, you have some new businesses in Irmo?
yeah, and again, we're going to recognize any new in-town businesses that have registered for a business license. That's the one thing that we can do. It is figuratively the least we can do to recognize new businesses in town, and that is Advantage Carolina, Craft and Draft Irmo, Gail's Dolly Boutique, Honey Pot Retreat, and Megan Duffy CPA. Welcome to the town.
Great.
One question.
Go ahead.
Craft and Draft, is that where the old Winn-Dixie was?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why that parking lot is full now.
Okay. Okay.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on, any amendments to the agenda? Do you have any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Consideration of communications. We have members from the Blue, are they out of the little executive session over there?
Yeah.
Okay, we have people from the Blue Granite Water Company, water and sewer representatives, with the people that are for that company. Are they here? Okay.
1 second, let me grab this real quick.
No worries.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
And could you give us your name?
My
please?
name is Don Denton. I'm president of Blue Granite Water Company.
Don Denton.
Denton, D-E-N-T-O-N.
Thank you, Mr. Denton.
Absolutely. I actually new president of Blue Granite, started in September. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We had actually had a presentation, but I understand we're not going to be able to show it. So I'll try and walk through it as best I can. Our company, we this past week, a couple weeks ago, met with Jake and Whit, and we've been over the past couple years focused on retooling this company, focused on leadership changes. We have focused on operational changes, investment in our communities, and fixing, quite frankly, problems from the past. Specifically in the Friarsgate community, we have, over the past 2 years, spent a lot of time and effort on the wastewater treatment plant with the interconnection with the City of Columbia. Spent over $4 million in that facility alone. We've had a lot of water intrusion in the collection system at Friarsgate from stormwater. That community was built, I believe, in the 70s, and we have seen a lot of, quite frankly, growth in those pipes. We've spent over the past couple of years a lot of time, and I wish I could have really thrown this up here this evening, with cameras going into that collection system, looking at the growth, the tree roots that are in that system, the taps that have gone into that system that help clog that system. So a couple of years ago, we started a program of videoing and cleaning out those lines and sending in bores to robots and bores into those lines to clean them out. We're roughly about 20% complete. We have mapped out through a GIS system almost every single manhole, where every pipe is. We have identified where the problem areas are, and we have developed a plan to go in and clean these systems so that we can avoid, as best as we can, these problems that we've been having in the past. This program will be roughly about another $4 million spend for the Friarsgate community, within Friarsgate, that we're going to be spending to upgrade these systems. Not only are we going to be cleaning them where we do have cracks and holes in the pipes, we'll be repairing them in place, trying not to dig up where we can, and using modern techniques of cast-in-place piping, and going through to ensure that this system has a long life for many, many years to come. As we've been going through this, it's been also an evolution for this company over the past couple of years. My predecessor, who has now moved into a national role with the company, has started a program of changing out our leadership team within this company. I personally have 20 years working for Duke Energy, was brought in to help with this transformation. In the past 2 years, the leadership in our entire company has been replaced in Blue Granite. We also have brought in a contract operator. The operations team that was here over the past few years, from 2 years ago prior, is no longer with the company. Clearwater Solutions is now our contract operator in the Midlands, and they are working very hard to make sure that these issues that we have seen in the past don't resurface. I think we started a good dialogue with Whit and with Jake. Quite frankly, I've given my phone number to Whit and said, on a 24-hour basis, you have a problem, give me a call. It's not a problem. I know that, for instance, we've also got our operations team and got a number of members of our team back here in the back. They've done the same thing. We'd like to rebuild this relationship with this community, and do what we can to ensure quality service for our customer base. And with that, I'd just like to ask for any questions, or I don't know how this actually works with with the town, but
Thank you, Mr. Dent. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I'm sure my council has a lot of questions they'd like to ask you. You want to start with Mr. Sickinger? Or if you-
Sure. Let me turn on first. Thank you for coming.
sure.
And so I wanted to talk to you about the history of the company and the ownership of the company. So is it correct that, so I understand that Blue Granite and Carolina Water, or CWS, are not the same entity, is that correct?
Well, so now there's Carolina Water Service of North Carolina and Blue Granite Company of South Carolina. So Blue Granite Water Company in South Carolina. They are not the same company from the standpoint of personnel, resources, and how the company has been structured.
Are they subsidiaries?
They are both subsidiaries of what is now Corks Regulated Utilities.
That's where I was headed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bush?
I don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
I have one.
Ms. Conley?
How long will it take to complete the improvements?
Great question. We've started on this program. We're 2 years in. We currently have a $4 million spend over the next 4 years.
Okay.
Roughly, you look to do about 20% per year, 10 to 20%. We have been trying to accelerate due to the problems that we've seen in this community with regards to the collection system. We've been trying to accelerate that program and looking at how we can do that. Our operator currently has brought another robot to be going through on a pretty much weekly basis where they can and to identify. The issue is sometimes these robots, they get in the pipe and they can't travel but 10 feet before they get to a blockage. And then they got to back out, and then we got to bring a bore cutter in and core through whatever the blockage is. It's surprising that the system is where it is, but at the same time, we're doing everything we can to accelerate that process to make sure that we are getting the pipes to a point that they are sustainable for a very long time. We're also looking at other alternatives of diverting some of the flow, which would include new pipes. We're looking at some right-of-way agricultural type of management, vegetation management on the right-of-ways to prevent this from the trees from growing to the point that they're actually intruding in on the lines again where we can. And so all of that, and we'd like to come back and talk to you all about that plan when we're ready to roll that out. We're adopting and looking at policies internally, and we'd like to come back to the town and talk to you all about when we're ready about the agricultural and right-of-way clearing programs.
Okay.
I had a number of conversations with citizens regarding the, I guess you guys, when you had that flood where the system overflowed and you had that big pickup, there was a number of citizens that said there were pump trucks in front of their house pumping out the manholes. And one citizen in particular said that you guys walked in her backyard and had it marked up for, I guess, a major construction demolition off of Royal Tower. Now, I don't know, I'm not going to get into details because I'm sure you're not aware of that, but at the same time, the amount of construction marking that they're talking about doing in this lady's backyard is extensive. Like they're going to tear up her complete backyard to re-pipe a lot of stuff and to fix some, I guess, joints that are been clogged or need to be fixed. What about the streams that parallel the system? Are those going to be attention? Are those going to be receive attention also? In other words, like what's that creek, Kelly?
Rawls?
Rawls Creek. That whole line goes through Friars Gate. Will that receive any attention?
So the line that's next to Rawls Creek and around Rawls Creek, that's been a troublesome line, quite frankly. There is an actual bend in that line that is greater than 90 degrees. It's a little awkward from a design perspective in the flow of water. If you can think about that, the water basically has to turn around in this one manhole and go the opposite direction. From an engineering perspective, we are working with GMC out of Greenville, and they are working, and they've done a complete hydraulic analysis of this entire system, showing us where they believe the pinch points are, the problem areas are, and we are focused on those areas from the standpoint of any modifications. I'm unaware of, quite frankly, marking or looking at digging out somebody's backyard at this point, but I definitely want to look into that and make sure that if there is anything that's been proposed and we're pursuing at this point along those lines, that we're working with the community and the homeowners prior to getting to that point. We do not want to be tearing up somebody's yard without obviously talking to them, even though it might be in a right-of-way. We want to have a much greater outreach program with regards to the community. And as we've even been looking at and walking the right-of-ways with regards to looking at the trees that are in the right-of-ways and overgrowth, we've had some conversations with some of the residents and saying, would you mind if these trees, quite frankly, were removed, if we removed all the debris and everything else, or is this something that's important to you? And so while that has been very informal conversations, those conversations actually have been quite positive to date. And we want to make sure, and again, before we move forward with anything like that, that we're coming back to y'all, talking to y'all, and reaching out to the community and talking to individual property owners prior to doing any work on their property.
Great. That's all I had. Did you have anything else that you want to add?
No, I apologize. What I would like to do, though, if it's possible, I would like to send you all this presentation that we had presented, because it does have maps of the community along with highlights of what we've already done, and I think some background information that would be helpful.
I would love for you to do that. In fact, can we make that public information, Bob, or Renee?
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
So it'll be on our website. We can make that public information so everybody
Absolutely.
can see it.
That'd be great.
It's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have two receipt of communications. One is the citizens committees that we have been promoting here for the last, 2 months. There's a list of the people that are officially have asked to be on these committees. Did you see that? That's a copy of the names of the people and the committees that they asked to be on. If you will understand that over the next week or so, or the next 2 weeks, they will have meetings scheduled. Bob will chair the first meeting or call the first meeting to order, and at those meetings, then these people will elect their own hierarchy for us, chairman, point of contact. As Miss Olivia Felder, she's the only one on streams and flooding, so I guess she'll be the chairman and the CEO of that one committee, unless there's other people that are interested in what's happening with streams and flooding and what you heard from Blue Granite tonight. But these committees are active. These are the people that signed up to be on it, and we're looking forward to their first meeting where they get together and discuss issues. The second communication I have is I had the honor and the opportunity today to go to Irmo Elementary School. They asked for the mayor to come to their school, and they had some issues they wanted to talk to me about. And these are the second grade class in Irmo Elementary, and they gave me a bunch of letters of their personal concerns, and I wanted to share some of those concerns with the council. And in fact, here, you can look at some, and you can look at a couple over here, and I'll share their own. But this is the type of information that the second graders at Irmo High School are concerned with. They said, "Dear Mayor Walker, will you make a law for me?" Okay, a lot, not a lot. I cannot focus on my reading because there's a dog who keeps barking a lot. I am not skeptical about this, but there are stray cats that harass me also. There's a boy who blasts his music so loud, and I don't like it. Sincerely, William. Well, William, we'll look at that law for you. This other letter, and you guys got some good ones over there. Dear Mayor Walker, I have an idea for a law. I think that if a tree grows so tall, it can fall down and hurt somebody. So everybody should trim their trees down so nobody can get hurt. Well, thank you, Michaela. That's a very good suggestion. We'll look at it. And I have a number more of these things. You see, they got some really good concerns there. I'll read one more and give you an idea. Dear Mayor Walker, there is an intersection near my neighborhood that I need to cross it to go to school, but nobody barely stops for me when I get to school. We need a traffic light at that intersection, and I'm thankful that you are our new mayor, Quentin. So now you see the concerns of the 2-year-olds in the town of Irmo, and I'm sure that the council will.
Second grade.
Second graders, not 2-year-old. So now we have some new directives from the citizens of Irmo Elementary for us to get working on. And I'm sure that we'll be seeing those in our future.
You know what's nice? They're very honest.
Oh, yeah.
This is exactly what they think. So.
Well, I'm glad. We're going to build some relationships with these folks. Any other receipt of communications?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mrs. Sickinger.
So I have a receipt of communications from a individual who is asking that we post the Planning Commission on the website. If we can do that in addition to sending it out to the mailing list. And I'm okay with that. I mean, it's nice for transparency and
The Planning Commission meeting?
Planning Commission meeting agenda, yes,
Oh, okay.
when they do have one.
Okay.
And that the notification signs go up before the second reading. So it would be before the first reading, preferably.
But they don't go up for the first reading in case council shoots it down.
Yeah, I understand that.
If council doesn't pass it on the first reading, there's no reason to post it, so we don't. We post it after you have the first reading and say approval, then we'll go post it and it's posted through the third reading, which is 30 days.
Got it?
Yeah, I have one more. Sorry, I got to scroll back. It was in regards to the gentleman that I think you and I met about the signs and the visibility of them. So it's just some signs that need some cleaning up. There's some shrubs around them and whatnot where they can't be seen on Columbia Avenue near Midlands Tech. But I'll send it over to you. And since I'm talking about street signs, I'm in receipt of a communication regarding no speed limit signs on Columbiana. Columbiana, yeah, from the Irmo side, because there is no speed limit.
From
Broad
Old
River?
Piggly Wiggly, up to Jim Hudson Toyota.
Correct.
It's unlimited speeding. Right?
Unlimited speed, no posted
Is that what it
speed. You
was?
can go as
Okay.
fast as you want.
It's an Irmo bond? Okay,
Yeah.
I thought so. It was
I saw an officer sitting there, and I was wondering what the limit was going to be. But anyway, so I don't know. I just try to go under 40.
That's a good idea.
But I agree with that resident who says that there should be speed limit signs on a stretch of road. That's all.
Got it.
That's DOT, isn't it? Yeah.
You can make a request.
We can make it happen.
Building relationships.
Whit, you got the list? Huh? No, I need the list of the people who are going to speak at the meeting.
Oh, the sign-in.
The sign-in sheet. And that too. Is that it? While he's going to get the list of the people that signed up to speak on agenda items, I want to remind you, this is a point of the meeting where citizens can make presentations to the council on agenda items only. It's open to, it's free to address anything on the agenda. We ask that you come to the podium here, speak into the mic clearly. There's a lighted, if you see it on the front, there's 3 lights, green, yellow, and red. That's your 3-minute time limit. When it gets to red, please stop talking or have a seat, and then I won't have to be nasty and interrupt you. If you will be respectful to the council, this is council members Sickinger, Bush, and Condom. And I'm Mayor Barry. If you give us that respect, we'll give it back to you as addressing Mr. or Mrs. whoever you're addressing. First person on the list is Leela Cartledge. Come on up and speak to us, please. Thank you so much. Give us your name and speak clearly in the microphone. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lila Cartledge. I live at 100 Crestfell Circle and been there for approximately 20 years. I moved there because it was a nice place. It had trees, established neighborhood. The thing that concerned me was a letter from Blue Granite saying they would propose each household would pay $150. That didn't go through. Now it's each household for improvements, your sewer bill will be $100. The sewer bill will be $100 regardless of how many people are in your home, whether there's 4 people flushing the toilets and taking showers, 6 people, or 1 person. I've been in places where the sewer bill was based on water usage, how much in, how much out. And I feel that when they hooked up, I think of it as Utilities Inc. got over 40. That was high. Now it's 60 something. That's ridiculous. Now it's going to be 100. What about the poor older folks in that area on fixed incomes when your sewer bill is $100, your water bill's $25, your power bill is $100? How do you tell them your sewer's $100? You have no choice. You can't dig a septic tank in your backyard and call it done. And I feel that this is crazy. Why didn't Utilities Inc. work on it? And then with $60-something, why wasn't it worked on? And now it's coming up on 100. 100 is too much, especially when my water bill is 25. And I'm one person flushing my toilet, taking a shower, and $100 is crazy. I think sewer bills should be based on amount of water usage. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cartledge. Ms. Barbara Wallman.
Good evening. I just wanted to make a comment on Ordinance 20-01 based on your discussion at the workshop on January 7th. There was an item you talked about on page 75 of that document. It had to do with signage and placement of signage. In particular, you were talking about political signs. And there was a suggestion initially of having that be a 60-day period before the election, and then there was further discussion about making that a 90-day period. My suggestion would be to just change that to be from the first day of filing for the election until the election. And that would avoid that you would have to change that number if for some reason in the future the election system changes those election windows, and that would just be a more comprehensive way to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good idea. Thank you. Mr. George Glassmeyer.
Members of council, good evening. I want to address items 9A and 9B, which I'll do at the same time, and as well as item 12. As to term limits, I want to reiterate my position that I'm not opposed to term limits. However, again, I would also state that if council wants to impose term limits on the various members of the committee, such as ZBA and Planning Commission, that you also need to impose term limits on council members as well, unless you think you're better than the people that volunteer unpaid for those committees. I've also examined the text of the proposed amendments that's on the town website for both items 9A and B, and I think it still needs some tweaking. One thing, as I read that proposed legislation, that it does not address is oftentimes citizens will be appointed to fill the unexpired term of a current member, which may be a month, it might be 3 years and 11 months, or anything in between. And my question is, as I read the amendments, it's not clear to me as to whether or not that portion of a full term that that person serves, does that count toward the 8-year limit? And if it does, then that means that someone may have the opportunity to serve less than 8 years before they're forced off. And if it doesn't count, they may serve as much as 11 years and 11 months before they're forced out. And if you start the 8-year clock when they come in, then they will in effect serve during part or all of 3 different terms, which is not consistent with the language that's there now. It's quite confusing, frankly, and I think that needs to be cleaned up. I would encourage you to re-examine that and to defer action on these items tonight until you get some clear language as to how to address that. As to my concerns on item 12, there's a number of proposals there that presumably Mr. Sickinger put on there, and I'm always interested in various ideas to resolve these issues. As to this $25 fee, it's always been my position that when practicable, the people that use the service should be the ones who pay for it. And I've got a problem paying for other people to have their debris removed. I don't think $25 is a lot for an individual to pay to have their refrigerator or stove or bulk item removed. And this is a cost that should be borne by the people that use it, much as that people that drive on the roads have to pay for the road maintenance through gas tax. People that don't drive cars and don't put gas in cars don't have to pay that. Again, the people that are using the service are the ones that pay for it, and to the extent practicable, I think that's the approach we need to take. I'm definitely opposed to us getting the necessary vehicles and staff to do this ourselves. We don't need to expand town government, particularly when there's already a service in place that can do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. David Stewart.
George, you're too tall. David Stewart, 101 Glossop Circle. I want to speak in regards to item 12. I spoke last meeting regarding some possible alternatives. I'd like to reiterate one. I would like the council to consider retaining the service that's provided by our current contract with Tyler. I would like for the town to consider the $25 fee after a citizen has had one item picked up by Tyler. After the first item in the calendar year, they'll pay for everything else after that. The reason that I'm suggesting this is that I do not believe the town would like to see the city turn into a wasteland of all kinds of items that are left on the curb, on the front porch. I know we have visions of places all around this country where people live with discarded autos, discarded appliances on their front porch. I don't think we want to see that. We already know who is having the items picked up because Tyler knows. All they have to do is keep track of that, which they already do, and notify the resident that the next item they're going to have to pay for. I think this would serve the interests of the town in making sure that people are encouraged to participate in recycling. If we wait for people to find somebody to pick up these items, we may have a long wait. It's going to discourage people from wanting to discard of the items. It's going to discourage people from trying to find somebody to take these items to the dump on Bush River Road. That's for people who are in the Lexington County part. I don't know where people in Richland send theirs to, but it should apply to them as well. I appreciate your consideration of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Laura Carson.
Laura Carson. I live at 501 Oakhampton Road. Like the First Lady who spoke, I am concerned about how much the sewer prices are going to go up. I'm a single person living in my own home, and I don't like the idea of paying $100 a month in sewer fees. One person flushing the toilet, one person using the shower. I find that problematic. I love my house. I love living in New Friars Gate, but I am not inclined to recommend people to move into that neighborhood if that's the price tag. And I'm a new homeowner, and I have lots of young friends who also want to buy homes and rent homes and be in this area. And I want to encourage them to live where I live. And I don't want to pay that. I don't want my water bill to be more than my power bill. That's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Michael Lezecki.
Michael Lezeski, 235 Torrington Road. Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Here to speak indirectly concerning 9D. I found it a touch ironic that during the discussion of the citizen committees, there was a lack of volunteers for such. And I understand the need of volunteers, especially dedicated, willing citizens to serve their town. Approximately 4 years ago, I chose to do that myself for the city. I am a planning commission member. I have no, qualms with anything concerning 9D when it regards to some type of malfeasance, criminal activity, wrongdoing, and such. But an apparent draconian measure of any reason, any time, seems to me a put-off for anyone who wants to advise council, and that's what the planning commission does. It advises council based on being a professional or willing to serve in some way, to pay attention to current trends and items. So I would encourage the council to think clearly with regards to that, and to perhaps word their things better, because a pool of good candidates with a variety of backgrounds and knowledge is important for this city to grow, this town to grow, perhaps into a city one day, and to make some positive, great changes for us. Likewise, I've been here over 20 years myself. I love Irmo, and I want it to remain good and get even better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to, Ms. Witt, come on up? And I will call you after that.
Good evening, Council. I'm Pat Witt. I live at 213 Minehead Road. I would like to speak on, topic number 7B, Blue Granite Water Service. I think this is totally ludicrous, and I believe that 99% of the people in Irmo...
Wait a minute, Ms. Witt, you said 7D?
B as in boy, 7B,
Blue granite presentation.
Yeah, I want to speak on Blue Granite. Is that okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay. I myself, like several of these other ladies, am a single parent, a single person living by myself. I just retired this year. I'm on a fixed income. I love my home, my yard, everything I have. I've lived there for 20 years, never had any problem. I don't know how a raise like this can be justified. Blue Granite has a lot of people at the top of their organization. Let them get together and brainstorm and come up with a solution for us. There's been a lot of good people leaving Friars Gate. And I would hate to see that after 20 years, this would be one of the calling cards that I would have to move, because I am not going to pay $100 for sewer, and a lot of people aren't. And I understand people that live maybe 6 miles from me that have moved in area code, zip code 29210 and 29212. They're not paying the cost that Blue Granite is. I know some people that have moved out of Friars Gate that are not paying this. And it's just ludicrous, I'm telling you. It should be based on usage. I, like the other ladies, if one person, I think it's ludicrous. Something needs to be done. The citizens don't need to be raped by a utility company. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pitt.
Are there any other citizens like to, Mr. Cooley?
Good evening. My name is Milton Cooley. I live in Settler Station. I currently serve on the Irmo Zoning Board of Adjustments. Currently serve as chairman. And I do note your, I don't have the, if you give me the item number, but I want to address the issue of this doesn't say it here, but the copy that I received in the mail said about removing members anytime for any reason. I think that's a mistake. Let me also clarify, I'm not here on behalf of the zoning board. I am here as a resident of the town. I think it's improper to have that particular type of arrangement with the zoning board, as the zoning board, not unlike the town judge or circuit court, is a quasi-judicial body. And to me, that leaves the possibility of the town council persons imposing influence on the zoning board of adjustments, which as a citizen, I don't think that's just and proper. I would encourage you to, if you wish to put your imprimatur on the board, perhaps have it as the council turns over the planning commission and the boards also turn over. That way you have your people on the boards, but to just leave it where if we don't like a decision that you make, we have the possibility of removing you. To me, that's improper, and that's not something that I would want as a town resident. And I do note that your term limits are listed, and I will say that I have served on the zoning board for, I don't know, probably going on 20 years, and I considered it my contribution to my town, my community, my fellow citizens. And I would like to thank you for relieving me of that obligation going forward, because I will now be able to attend to my own affairs without interruption. So if you would consider that, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley.
Are there any other citizens who would like to address council on agenda items only? Seeing none. Unfinished business, the third and final reading of ordinance 1928, that's the establishing the term limits for board members on the ZBA. Do I hear a motion for third and final approval?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second?
I second it.
Mr. Sickinger made a motion, Mr. Bush seconded. Do you have any comments, Mr. Sickinger?
I do. Based on feedback received today, can you hear me okay? Based on feedback received today, I feel like there's certainly some more discussion that needs to be had around this. When someone serves for 5, 10, 12 years, and I feel part of me is recognizing the challenge of filling the boards with or commissions with the right people who care about the town. If someone doesn't care about the town, they shouldn't be in that role in the first place. But I don't feel like council should be motivated to put on people just because they like them, which I'm not indicating was the case in the past, but it may have been. But because they're doing good work for the town. And if they're doing good work for the town, whether I like them or not, for 8 years or 10 years, maybe they should stay. I do think that probably most important part of this as to why we should probably table this for the next meeting is based on the unexpired term concerns of Mr. Glassmar.
Yeah, we did propose an amendment to that. I don't know if that,
It's not showing as written.
I agree. We need to defer this.
What was it? You said, Mr. Bush?
So we did propose like an amendment to,
You turned it on?
yeah, it's on. I can speak up. We did propose an amendment in the last meeting to address the fact that if we don't have any applicants, that we could extend the term beyond 8 years in the event we had no qualified applicants. So I don't know
Right.
if we want to table it until.
This is third final reading. Go ahead, Mr.
I'm sorry, I thought you didn't know you had I think we ought to defer it and rewrite it.
Rewrite what?
That, especially about the small terms like serving out a year, and then does that count as part of the 8? It probably shouldn't. And Mr. Cooley, I don't want him to leave. I know, I know it's, we ought to have term limits, but he's about as good a volunteer as we're ever going to have anywhere. And, he takes the responsibility seriously, and these people are hard to find. I hate for him to leave, but there's an exception to everything. Maybe we need to rework the wording. The term limit idea is good, I understand. But in this case, there ought to be a couple of exceptions.
Okay. I think that you're absolutely right. There should be exceptions. I think we did put that in the wording from Mr. Bush last time, Mr. Sickinger, as far as if we didn't have any applicants, we could extend the person out.
I don't see it here.
You discussed it at length, but there was never a motion or a second made on that.
Yeah.
You just said, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, if it happens.
Right. Okay, so we need to write that language in this,
Yeah.
you think?
I think so.
All right.
We need to clarify that.
All right, and then while we're clarifying that, did you want to also address the issue of, like you said,
Yeah.
as far as people that may be coming at the end of their term and they leave off early, and then we have to.
They start mid-term, right? I mean, they take someone else's term up. So
Right.
are they serving, because their first term will only be 2 years?
Well, no.
For example.
No, these are 4-year terms on that commission.
Right, but if
So
they,
if somebody leaves in the middle,
right,
that means they got 4 years left on that term, or 2 years left in that term.
right.
Okay, and then that's the completion of that first term. And then they have another 4-year term they can do. Just like us, if for instance, I was in the middle of my term on council, I'm elected mayor, I gave up my seat on council, so the person we elect on March 3rd will be filling out the 2 years left on my term on council.
Yeah.
And then they could run again for reelection, of course. But again, they may have a term limit opposed by 1,800 people as opposed to having a term limit opposed by us. That's the difference in that. You're concerned about somebody coming in the middle.
I mean, 8 years.
filling out the term.
Right.
Right, that's what it would be. It's the same way on council.
Okay.
You got me?
I understand
So-
what you're saying. I guess,
So it's not like we're saying that their term starts when they get on. They're going to fill out the term, the unexpired term of the person they're replacing. And then they can, if it's at the end of their term, they can reapply, and we can.
but they can only serve a partial term on their second term. They can only serve
No,
a partial.
they can serve a full term in their second term because they're in the middle of their term.
But I think that's why we need to clarify the wording, because it does say 8 years total. So
Right.
if you come on this day and 8 years total.
It says full 4-year term. What does it say, 8 years?
It's either 6 or 10,
Eight.
yeah.
8 years total in the two things, yeah. So, I mean,
If we can clarify it.
yeah, I don't have a problem, but I'm saying, but what I'm getting at is, what are we gonna tell them to clarify? I wanna make sure that they know their marching instructions.
That it's possible to serve 10 years if 2 of those are an unexpired term,
I'm gonna,
you know.
yeah,
Just thought it said something
What's
like,
that?
provided, however, that if an individual starts service to complete an unexpired term, such fulfilled service will not count against the 8-year period.
Okay, that.
Okay.
I just want to have it all
Yeah.
on the thing. I mean, I would like to postpone it to the 18th,
Okay,
which is the next, technically.
We
Would-
should probably defer both for
No.
the same reason.
right.
That would be-
So,
Make a motion to defer.
Mr. Bush
postpone.
made a motion.
To postpone.
Hold on. You wanna postpone it, or?
I move to postpone this matter
You accept
until
his-
February 18th.
The accept is,
I second.
all right, second it. Mr. Bush, second it. You got it, Ms. Cabinet? All right, all in favor of postponing item A, ordinance 1928, and 1930, same thing.
You're deferring.
Well, we'll defer the first one.
Deferring it
deferring
until
it,
a
yeah.
specific date. Now, understand that you're gonna come back on the next meeting and you're still gonna have to make an amendment to change it because you can't.
Yeah, but we wanna get the wording right.
By the
We wanna get the wording right before we make the amendment to
Right,
change.
but somebody would still have to make an amendment with whatever the new word is.
Right.
at that
Right.
time.
Yes.
So let's defer the first one, 1928.
We're going to vote?
Oh, you ready to vote? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, it's unanimous. Third and final reading of ordinance 1930. We're gonna make a motion to defer that also, is that right?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. Well, yeah, make a
To-
motion to defer as well
Until
For
the
next
18th?
meeting,
till the 18th.
the 18th?
Second?
Second, Mr. Kelly made the motion. Let's-
Did y'all want to do a motion to talk about?
Yeah, do we need to just,
Do the motion
Well, do you wanna make a motion to defer it, or you
I
wanna
already
talk
seconded it.
about it? We already talked about it.
yeah, this is the same, this is basically the same ordinance,
I mean-
different board.
You can go right to deferring it.
Okay.
Right. So Mr. Bush made a motion, Mr. Sickinger seconded. Any other conversation? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? It's unanimous. Second reading of ordinance 2001, and that's to amend our zoning, current zoning and land development ordinances with the modifications we made at the last workshop. You have those in front of you in detail. Is there a motion for second reading approval?
I make a motion.
Second?
Mr. Slow down. Mr. Bush made a motion. Mr. Sickinger seconded. Are there any conversation?
I have something, so we did have some citizen input on this, and with regards to page 3G, no sooner than 90 days in advance. The
Okay.
citizen recommended that we make it from the date they file,
First day of filing, right?
so,
To the date of the election. Right?
yes,
From the,
from the date of filings.
It says all such signs shall be erected no sooner than first day of filing. Okay? In advance of the specific election,
and they shall be removed.
right?
Within 7 days.
Isn't it 48 hours after the election, Bob?
Well,
this
7
says 7
days.
days.
Huh?
7 days,
Okay, okay.
just in case you can't get them all.
As much as those things cost. Get them 24 hours.
Getting 24 hours would be much.
Do we need to amend that?
Well, yeah, that's the amendment
Right,
that
I was
he
just
wants to make. Is that, Mr. Bush, you want to make that
I
amendment?
would like to make that amendment.
Or did we make that? Yeah.
And I second.
Mr. Bush made the amendment.
Can we get the language clear one more time? All such signs shall be erected no sooner than the day of filing?
First day of filing.
Okay.
First day of filing.
So we would remove 90 days into 90 days, first day of filing
Right,
in advance of?
right.
Okay.
Specific election. You cool with that amendment?
That works for me.
Second, Ms. Conlon seconded.
Yeah.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Amendment passes. I also have another amendment. We talked about this a little bit at the meeting about neighborhood commercial businesses. And I don't think we ever put it in the writing, and I want to make sure we did that. We're limiting the size, and maybe our advisor can tell us why, but we're limiting the size of buildings to 4,000 square feet in neighborhood commercial. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I would like to bring it up to 5,000 because we have several businesses that are 4,400 square feet in neighborhood commercial, which are pretty legitimate size. I believe the Starbucks and the East Bay Deli is about a 4,400 square foot building.
That's neighborhood commercial.
Right. Well, that's general commercial, but it could be a neighborhood commercial, as the one up here they're going to build. So I think 5,000 is a better number, and that was the only modification I'd like to make. If there's a problem with that, let me know.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Also, we said that they are not allowed to serve alcohol after 8 o'clock, I believe it was.
Is that on here?
Huh?
Is that on the
That was-
changes?
that
Or
was
that's
on
just
the neighborhood commercial.
Okay.
That was also something I'd like to remove that whole paragraph, whole sentence is in there. On-premise alcohol sales are allowed,
Who would that affect in town? I mean,
Well, I'm thinking about the small restaurant that may have been done, that may be open, that are serving alcohol,
Mr.
on-premise
Chairman.
alcohol sales. Like, for instance, Sun Ming.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in the ordinance that has been in place for a number of years, and this has been carried over to the new ordinance, any drinking place, whether it's a restaurant or a bar or whatever, has always required a special exception from the Board of Zoning Appeals. So that would have, if you move it from the neighborhood commercial, that would have to be removed from any drinking establishment.
Any drinking establishment?
But drinking establishment, anything that serves alcohol, that would be a bar or a restaurant or a lounge or any club like that.
We have bars now that serve alcohol
Yeah,
in neighborhood commercial after 8 o'clock.
Right, well, this is not just neighborhood commercial, it's any drinking establishment that's in the ordinance that currently now it requires a special exception.
But I mean, I read it as being just a neighborhood commercial. I read
Well,
that wrong?
they're two separate things. One of them is, conditional uses for neighborhood commercial, and the other one is for drinking establishments. So if a restaurant is in neighborhood commercial, it would fall under both, and they want to have alcohol, it would fall under the conditional uses for neighborhood commercial, which you're changing to 5,000, and also the special exception for
On-premise alcohol sales?
right.
You understand that?
Yeah.
I mean, they're allowed to do it, but I mean, the way it stands now, the way it has been and the way it continues is that it has to have approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
You have to have approval from ZBA?
Correct, as a special exception.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you need to have
well,
approval.
that's a good safety valve. I mean, it depends, like neighborhood commercial, how it's interwoven through our zoning. If you don't have a safety valve where you can stop it, then you kind of open the door to.
But we have businesses right now that are in neighborhood commercial that serve alcohol after 8 o'clock.
To do that, right?
Yeah, they've been approved, right.
So if we leave it as is, they can still be approved. approve.
Oh, absolutely, but I'm saying a new business opening up would have to go before the ZBA to get approval where somebody's already doing it in neighborhood commercial where it already exists. Why should we make them go through all of that? We're not-
I can read what,
Is there a page number?
well, I
Yes,
don't have,
report.
it's 2-3.15, special exceptions for bars and other drinking places.
What page is that on?
Um,
It's on the bottom of that.
I'm almost there.
We'll have to find
20
it.
something.
Yeah.
I printed it out separately, so I didn't
Oh, okay, no problem.
put the page number. It's special exceptions, there's two of them. One of them for general commercial and office commercial, and there's a separate one for neighborhood commercial.
Okay.
Let's see, let me find
That's
it.
the one I'm talking about.
It's page 28 in your,
Yeah.
That's here, general rules, special exceptions. Special.
This is for bars.
So it's additional, it reads like additional stipulations on neighborhood commercial
Yeah.
for drinking establishments.
Check valve.
It's a check valve.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I understand, I'm not looking to put barriers in front of any business that's reasonable in the right place, but when it comes to drinking, I can imagine a situation where zoning board could have some positive impact on a little government hand there.
yeah, again, it's just to say that those conditions are met. I mean, they're spelled right out here. All they have to say, the applicant has to say, yes, we're closer than 300 feet, and it complies with all applicable development standards, and just, these general things here.
All right? Thank you.
Okay, so I'm good with that. You want to drop it?
Yeah,
But I do want to do the 5,000 square feet, though.
all right. I move to amend the motion to add, to change 4,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet as the maximum limit in neighborhood commercial.
Second.
Ms. Condon, Mr. Signature made a motion, Ms. Condon seconded. Thank you very much for your input on that.
Thank you.
Can I ask you about some others at the workshop? Make sure that I'm able to change the ordinance like you want. The ones that were marked in green.
We have black and white.
Okay. So
the navy gray color.
there was
Navy
talk.
gray.
There was talk about changing the single-family use in general commercial, and there was also a matter of the density in RG and CN. Everybody agreed to change the density, maximum residential density in general commercial from 7 to 4, and also, and office commercial, but there was a question of whether it would be residential general or in neighborhood commercial. Did you decide upon that, or where does that stand?
I don't think we made a decision on that.
Okay,
I'm happy to make an amendment to discuss it.
so that would not be part of the ones you did to make a decisions about are not included, because I wasn't at the last meeting.
Thank you.
Well, we did talk about RG going to 16. Is that not what we
Yes.
want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in there.
Yeah.
That's in there, that's not
Are you
lined
cool
out.
with that?
Yep.
Okay.
I think the only thing that needs to be clarified, because right now, as of this document, neighborhood commercial is the maximum residential density right now is question mark. So I move to, that we amend, I'm sorry. We haven't voted on the previous.
Wait a
We
minute.
have to vote on the
That's a-
45,000.
Well, we can also add this to that also and vote on that together. If we're going to change that number from 7 CN
That
neighborhood
takes
commercial.
another motion.
Well, I know, I was waiting for y'all to make one.
Okay.
So we're
Go
gonna
ahead,
do,
Eric.
you're gonna amend your motion?
Yeah, I amend my motion to amend uh, to change neighborhood commercial to 16 for maximum
Second.
residential density.
And general commercial is from 7 to 4, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
Correct.
yes.
What about office commercial and general residential?
16, 4 and 16 respectively.
4 and 16, yeah.
4 for office commercial and 16 for general residential?
Correct.
Okay. 16, 4, 16, and 4. Okay. And FA and RS and LN stay the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for those clarifications so I can make sure that
Thank you.
make them correctly.
Wait a minute, I thought neighborhood commercial now, we said 16 or 4 or 7? We changed that to 7? I don't have my book, I can't remember what we. Did you take notes in there when we did that? What did I say? What did we say?
I mean, I wasn't taking minute by minute notes.
Well, it's in here right now, I mean, I
Right.
just want to make sure we,
I have it leafed, but that's to the wrong page. I think the design there was if they wanted to do a mixed use property, it allowed them to have the apartments above the commercial business.
no, I didn't, not a neighborhood commercial. Or- Yeah, I believe that's still 7. I don't believe it's changed.
Neighborhood commercial still 7?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. 7.
yeah.
And
7, not
so RG is 16,
Correct.
CO is 4,
neighborhood commercial 7,
and CG is 4.
4, correct.
And there was also another amendment. Would that also mean changing the conditional uses for townhouses and patio homes to add and density to it so not to affect those? And there was also one about bus and transit stops too?
Is that on here?
Right, it's on the change number 1. I'm referring to the January
Oh,
7th. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was stuck on the third page. Thank you.
Yeah, change number 1 would be
Right.
to change all that to.
Conditional, right.
Conditional,
Yes.
and
Yes,
and the
Yes.
condition would be to buses and transit stops shall not be in locations that do not impede the flow of traffic. Okay.
that's correct. Okay. Sorry it's taking so long, but we just want to get this correct before we go into second reading.
And the, once again, the single-family and two-family in CG is not being changed at this point?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, I think I have it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Mayor. Who is the gentleman at the podium for the people who were not here last week?
I'm John Newman from Columbia, and I'm the planning consultant with Central Midlands Council of Governments who work with the Planning Commission and staff to prepare the new zoning and land development regulations.
Thank you.
Well, we do. We want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I just wanted for transparency for residents who weren't watching the last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ready to vote on the amendments?
Yes.
All the amendments we talked about, Mr. Signature made a motion. Ms. Condon seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, now we're ready to vote on the actual second reading of the ordinance 2001. Is there a motion for second reading with the amendments?
So moved.
Ms. Condon made the motion. Mr. Bush seconded. Is there any more discussion? None? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Second reading of ordinance 2003 to amend the Irmo Town Code. This will allow the replacement of any committee member on any committee at any time for any reason. Is there a motion for second reading?
I make a motion to read.
Mr. Bush made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Sickinger, second. Is there any comments? Mr. Bush?
Yeah, after I read it and thought about it and had some input, I think that I'm not gonna. I think we already have a way to remove
Okay.
board members for cause, and so
Okay.
that's kind of where I'm at with that.
That's fine. That's good. Mrs. Sickinger?
Mr. Mayor, similarly on consideration, I don't really ever like striking down something on the first reading because regardless of whether or not I agree with it, I want to give it its time, and I think it needs its time to go out to the community, and at the end of the day, as the Honorable Mr. Kelly said, we already can get rid of someone for cause. And, I'm thinking back to other councils that I may not have agreed with as much. And I wonder what would have happened if that rule was in place for them. I don't want to cast aspersions, I'm not. But I'm saying that that's a powerful ordinance, so I'm against it.
Okay, Ms. Condon, is there anything?
Just one thing to say.
Okay.
I think we're better than this. And since we have a prior ordinance to remove people for cause, I don't like this. But I understand why it was there, and that's fine.
It was just an attempt to clean it up a little bit, make it very transparent, but that's fine. Are we ready to vote?
Sure.
All in favor of second reading of ordinance 2003, raise your right hand. All opposed? Ordinance fails 3-1. New business, first reading of ordinance 2002. That's the dilapidated property ordinance. This will require that all windows broken on vacant buildings be replaced within 30 days. First reading approved. Do I have a motion for first reading?
So moved.
Mr. Slow down. Mr. Sickinger made a motion. Mr. Bush seconded. Is there any comments?
Yeah, so that seems reasonable to me. If you're a commercial property owner, you have to maintain that building to a certain standard. And while the broken windows theory has been mostly kind of ruled as not being true, it doesn't change the fact that broken windows still look really bad and give people opportunities to enter that building without permission. Similarly, code enforcement does a really good job when there's a genuine problem and when a resident reports it. Now, if a resident doesn't report it, then code enforcement might not even know about it unless they just happen to be driving by at that time. That said, I'm generally in favor of this.
Okay.
I'm generally in favor as well. Just so to be clear, it's just commercial properties, not fringe agriculture.
We can extend it.
Well, obviously, you all don't watch Blue Bloods because Frank Reagan says it works. If you tell people to fix the windows when they're broken, it might deter further crime or further.
Dilapidated.
He would not lie. I'm sure this is true. I think this is a good idea, regardless of blue bloods.
Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor of first reading, raise your right hand. All opposed? First reading of ordinance 2004 to rezone a little tiny corner of Muskrat Run Road from fringe agriculture, where they can have chickens and shoot people, to general residential, where they can build 7 units per acre.
Those are varmint guns.
Varmint guns?
Yes, you don't shoot people, you shoot varmint.
Varmints.
Oh, I didn't think the bullet had a designation on it. Anyway, first, is there a motion for first reading approval?
I make a motion.
Mr. Bush made a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Ms. Bush, Ms. Condon seconded. Any comments?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I yield to the motion.
Oh, you yield.
So,
He
yeah.
yields his time to you. So you
Yes, he
can-
did. So I put this out, and one of the things that I'm trying to do is kind of spread stuff far and wide to try to get feedback. I've noticed less feedback than I would like, including the citizen committees, and I think we need to continue to be transparent and open and allowing citizens to do that. Anyway, back on topic. So I received only general inquisitions on this, just curiosity. No one seemed to be against it. I have no problem with it.
Okay. Ms. Condon?
I don't either.
All he's doing is he bought a little piece to
Yep.
extend his project that he's building right now.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he's building townhomes. Is that right, Bob? In that whole RG section, and he needed that little piece to complete the project to be within guidelines of whatever.
Far be it from me to stand in the way. Progress.
All right. All ready to vote? All in favor of first reading approval, raise your right hand. All opposed? It's unanimous. Approval to cancel the February 4th, 2020 meeting. This is just a simple, we're going to cancel that meeting, and that would allow us, the entire council, to attend, if they choose, to attend the Richland County Council meeting. We have several issues we'd like to talk to them about, and we need to break the ice, and the only way we can do it is if some of us are not here at this meeting, or we all go as a unified council to their meeting, and I think that's what we should do. So I'd like to cancel that meeting with all your approval. Is make a motion. So Mr. Bush made a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Sickinger seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, he wants to discuss.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't want to talk about
Ooh.
it? We already talked about it. I mean, it's either yes or no, all right? Any questions, any more comments? All right, ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, great, it's
Who's
unanimous.
driving?
We'll figure that out on February 4th.
Okay.
So the February 4th Irmo Town Council meeting is now canceled. Our next meeting will be on
18th?
18th,
My
February
calendar is
18th,
correct.
right? And that's when we'll pick up those other two items we postponed too. So we got time to get the wording right that we're
Yeah.
looking for third approval. All right, I have a memorandum of understanding between the town of Irmo and Blue Granite. This approval of the memorandum of understanding, this is just a simple approval. It says that when Blue Granite terminates people's sewer for whatever reason they did, I guess non-payment, and they block it off, that they will notify the council, town of Irmo. And that's all a memorandum of understanding is that,
Code enforcement needs that information in order to do its job.
correct?
Okay,
Make a
so moved for the first.
Mr. Sickinger made a motion.
A second.
Mr. Bush second. Any more comments?
Yeah, so do we have this in writing?
Yeah, we got it in writing. It's in our packet, but did you not see it in your packet? Yeah, I'll show you.
You should see we went all digital, but doesn't make it easier. Do we have it for residents to see as well?
No.
Okay.
It's right after the map.
Here,
Oh, I got it here then.
right here.
Got it. I got it the exact same time you did. Thank you.
President Denton signed it already on the bottom. We just need to get our signature on it. Got it? You got it?
Yeah, I got it, but I don't.
Got it, Mr. Bush?
It's not on the big screen.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Mr. Signature?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to address a question to the town attorney. So, talk to me about the indemnity here. It's number 4.
What would basically happen is this: we need this information in order to properly ensure that when a person's sewer is cut off, that it remains cut off.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to bypass the sewage lines, and when that happens, we create environmental problems.
Yeah, agreed.
We need their help so that they will tell us when a particular residence is cut off. If we have that information, we can then send our code enforcement officers out there to make sure that our codes are being enforced from an environmental standpoint. In other words, nothing is being dumped out in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
What we've basically done is tell them, if you guys get sued based upon giving us information, which they should not be, then we'll basically defend the matter. This thing works to our advantage.
No, I'm in favor generally of the memorandum, but anytime I see the word indemnity, the red flags immediately go up.
Out of curiosity, what's the ramification to a resident? If they're disconnected for non-payment,
If they're
Well-
disconnected for non-payment and they continue flushing the toilets by bypassing, it's a crime. It's a violation of town ordinance, it's also a violation of the environmental laws of South Carolina.
when that's identified, what are the options for the resident? Either pay the bill,
Either reconnect, quit flushing the toilet.
but they won't be removed from their home.
No. They get a $1,087 ticket, right?
Okay.
Or abatement notice, rather.
They're bypassing and dumping raw sewage, we're gonna do something about it. We need to know that information to make sure that doesn't happen. The only way we can know to check to make sure that's not happening is if we know who's cut off and to ensure that our ordinance, we have an ordinance directly to a point, but we can't enforce that ordinance unless we know who to check. This is a way for us to work with the company to ensure that we're keeping the town environmentally safe. It's a good thing for us.
Okay?
Okay? Everybody good with the approval?
It's good.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. All right, at this point, this is a presentation by citizens of Irmo, and this is your opportunity to come to the microphone. Again, you're being videotaped, so speak clearly, slowly, so we can hear what you're saying. At the same time, I urge you to be respectful to the council and observe the 3-minute time limit by observing the light in front of you. You have 3 lights, green, yellow, and red. When the red light comes on, your 3-minute time is up. Please wrap up what you're saying. Are there any citizens that want to address council on any issue that you heard tonight or any issue on your mind otherwise? Come forward, please. Miss Lila? Thank you.
Hi, Lila Cartledge again. I moved to Irmo because I've loved the town. If I knew that my sewer bill was going to 100, if I knew because I lived in Lexington 5, my property taxes would go up about $100 every other year, I probably would not move here. When I moved here, I asked the owner of the property, how much is your power bill? How much is your sewer bill? How much is your water bill? How much is your property taxes? Because I have to figure that into my budget along with the house payment. I'm blessed. My house is paid for. Many people are not. I cannot, as of right now, say, yeah, come on into Lexington 5, live in Irmo, but prepare. Your property taxes will go up. Your sewer bill may be $100. Your water bill, $25. Your power bill, over $100. The power bill, that's a separate situation after paying in year after year after year for a failed system. That's disheartening. Why should I feel that Blue Granite can do what they can do, charging $100? It may be $150 next year. I don't know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else would like to speak? Come to the microphone, give us your name, address.
Good evening, Council. My name's Mike Ward. I'm at 118 Ashbourne Road. Just want to reinforce some things that I've heard tonight. I was in agreement with being extremely careful and not voting forward the ordinance to vote anybody out without cause. I read into the state law that gives the municipalities that power, and I think they put that verbiage in there for a reason. So I applaud you for keeping that ordinance in place as it is. I have no idea what the answer for the Blue Granite situation is. It does suck going up to $100. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the situation right now, but the Social Security Administration's cost of living increase for 2020 was 1.6%. The average American makes $1,500 a month for Social Security benefits. That's $24 more per month they're going to get. At the same time, if this proposal goes through, that's $40 a month extra that's coming out. Simple math says the people that are living on those fixed budgets cannot live that way. I don't know what the answer is, but I hope that you're able to work towards a better tomorrow. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Art McLean. I live at 136 Sonning Road. I was looking at this Blue Granite thing, and it's kind of disheartening, especially after hearing that letter, that memo that you guys got. When someone is broke and they can't pay their bills, and then you're going to add the reconnection fee, a town ordinance, some type of a ordinance fee for breaking ordinance, and fee after fee after fee, that's just digging that individual into a deeper hole. And we got to figure out a better way of doing that. I think prevention is the best policy in this situation. If we can, I've heard several people talk about water usage style of billing. I think that's more appropriate, but this thing with $100 when a lot of people can't pay $100, I've been broke and I know what it's like. And it's not pleasant because all you get is more fees, tacked on more fees, and you're consistently digging yourself out trying to make it work. So I think that we can figure something out. I think that if we open that dialogue, I think it's already been opened, but standing strong to make it work for us. We're the ones that are important, not Blue Granite, and not their bills. Thank you.
Is there any more citizens want to address council? Seeing none, we're going to move on, and we have a discussion item on the agenda, the handling of bulk items in the town. Councilman Signature, you put that on for discussion?
I did.
You'd like to start?
I would. If the agenda wouldn't leave me every time my iPad times out.
Get a hard copy.
Yeah, well, then I got to go back to paper. So this all comes from the change of the town paying for bulk pickup, which was done by the previous council. I do not think it is sustainable for the town to pay for everybody's bulk pickup. I also don't think it's reasonable. I don't think $25 is the cost for them to pick it up, probably because they're on the same route, they can just throw it in, or it's subsidized pricing. But after hearing the amount that we paid for bulk pickup, my question was, where could that money have been spent elsewhere? Or how could we have given that money back to the residents? And the other side of that coin is as the point was brought up by a resident, what about those who can't necessarily afford to throw out 2 or 3 bulk items at $25 an item if we go back to letting residents pay for it? Then they get an abatement notice, and then they have to. So I guess what I'd like to see, preferably, is some sort of setup where those who are throwing out bulk items pay for it. And I think the other side of it is, there's 3 sides now, is rental properties where when they evict somebody or when somebody just moves out and they leave all their stuff behind, and then you get a bunch of stuff by the road, and now the town shouldn't pay for that over and over and over again. So it's a combination of cost to the town or cost to the resident, rental properties, and the consideration for those who may not be able to afford bulk pickup on their own. Now, that's not to say I'd also like to open up to a larger conversation at some other point, the whole trash contract that we have in general, but I don't want to get out of scope, so I'll leave it with that. Well, ask the chair.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something more?
What about the idea that the homeowner pays, that the first fee is waived, but, so they pick up one item, but then everything else is $25? You think that's a good idea?
Every fiscal year, every just calendar year? Sure. I mean, I guess that, at least for the random one item, the town subsidized. I still don't like the idea of the town subsidizing it.
I don't either, but the idea was brought up by a citizen, so.
But likely, the largest amount of that expenditure from the town, where we're subsidizing residents throwing stuff out, is mostly from, it's not from one person, one household, one household, right? It's bulk.
Consider
A few households.
Well, consider this. Somebody got a new couch, and they get the old couch either taken away by the company delivering the couch, or they leave it on the front of the lawn and call the trash people, hey, I got a bulk item to come pick up. Right now, we're with our present contract, we have to wait until Tyler comes once a month to pick them all up. So that means that thing sits out there for 30 days. If we were in charge of it, when they call town hall and say, hey, we have a bulk item to pick up, we can dispatch somebody that day or that hour to go out and pick it up, so that it doesn't stay out there for 30 days. So the only reason why they got a bulk item in the first place is because they've got the money together to buy a new couch. So the $25 fee for hauling that couch away is not unreasonable, I don't think, to a person that just bought a new couch and they want to get rid of the old couch. The $25 fee is probably not, and I don't know, I haven't done the math, but it's probably not cost effective to us.
No.
But at least it will pay for our person to come pick it up and then take it to the dump for them. Now, the person that put that couch out there can certainly talk to their neighbor who may have a truck or may have a van and say, hey, how about haul us to recycling for me or haul us to Bush River Road for me? And they could do it themselves and save that $25. But again, we don't have items sitting on the curb, on the people's lawns for a month at a time waiting for Tyler or whoever the contractors are to come and pick it up once a month. We can do that immediately. So that's why I'm in favor of us taking it over and handling it and charging a $25 fee for everybody. I don't think we need to be subsidizing, I don't think Kelly needs to pay for subsidizing me buying a new couch and then leaving it out on the curb and picking it up. Now, when it comes to rental properties, I absolutely agree with you, Mr. Sickinger. There's no reason at all for rental properties to have somebody move out and leave a ton of stuff in front of their lawn and then call the town hall and have them come pick it up. If that's the case, we need to give them an excessive fee. If they don't want to move it on their own, they don't want to take it to the dump on their own, they need to pay more than $25. So yes, I'm proposing that we have a different fee structure for rental properties. We know who they are, we know where they are, and if that happens, we know the owners to get in touch with them and say, hey, you have an opportunity, Mr. Cagley was certainly writing an abatement notice, you have an opportunity to move this on your own within 3 days. If not, we're gonna send our truck out there and it's gonna cost you $50 to pick it up, or $100 a truckload, or whatever fee structure we come up with. But that's what I think is important, is that we have a separate fee structure for rental properties. We still allow the residents to do it, but this time we're not gonna subsidize, Mr. Bush is not gonna subsidize my new couch that I put out there being hauled away. I have to pay for it myself. In fact, that's what we were doing anyway. They were being charged all the time. It's just that the town was paying for it. Mr. Sickinger, Mr. Bush?
There's a great discussion. I think we can all agree that we don't want the citizens that don't use it to not subsidize it. So there's gonna be a fee. I think we agree. I think for me, it's the frequency of pickup that's really been a problem. And I don't know if that's adjustable with Tyler, but the issue is, like he said, somebody gets a new couch, they're really excited, they get the new couch in, the old one goes out, and Tyler's not coming for 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks worth of abatement notices and 3 weeks worth of potential fines, right? Mm-hmm. Or they got to drag it into the backyard and wait 3 weeks and then drag it back.
It'll never make it to the front yard.
So that's my point. Is I think the frequency is the biggest issues that we've got to solve. Whether we bring it in the town as a service we offer for money, or whether Tyler continues to do it, I think we need to address the frequency issue.
So to be clear, for transparency's sake, Bob, it's only picking up once a month because we were trying to put it on a set date, no matter what, and to know particularly how to budget for that. Am I correct?
That's correct, the initial, but 2 weeks ago, they did agree to pick up twice a month until the end of March, through this period while we're trying to figure out what we want to do.
It's still 2 weeks, you got
Right.
couch out there for 2 weeks.
I agree, 2 weeks is 2 weeks too long.
Right.
So I think, just to be clear, there seems to be coming out a couple of clear things. Either the town is going to pay for it, and it seems like we're all against that, at least subsidizing it in full. That there's perhaps one paid for over the course of a calendar year, and a separate discussion around rental properties or just evacuation of the house onto the lawn.
Yes, Mr.
I have a question. If the town decides to do it itself, is this gonna break even, or how much is this, or we don't know?
So
Well, the proposal I heard was we weren't going to charge the residents, we was just going to pick them up ourselves. Is that correct? Or were we going to have the
No.
residents pay up?
No, I don't think you heard, no.
We'd have to charge
Yeah.
the resident.
I mean, if we had an extra employee with the resources to pick it up, then we could pick stuff up every day. And you might not get to that point where there's stuff sitting out there.
Well, that's what I'm looking for.
But if
I
you-
think that's what I'm looking for. It's a call. If you call today, you get it picked up tomorrow or something of that nature. But I don't want a couch or a refrigerator sitting out there for
No, I don't either.
2
but-
weeks. I mean, that's what the problem is
Right.
now.
Well,
But it's not going to offset the cost. I mean, we're hiring an employee, and even at the basic
Right. Yeah.
entry salary, it's going to cost us $50,000. We still got to pay the dumps to drop off the
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
It's not
right.
free to take it down to the landfill. Even though the employee, if he just picked up stuff in the morning, would still be available for WIT to use. As
In
an
the
employee
afternoon,
In the
yeah.
afternoon. He wouldn't be
Okay.
picking up all day.
Right.